good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. It all depends on where you're at. Well, let's see. Growing up as a kid, I liked to do many different things. And I never liked the idea of just doing one thing or being a slave to something, because if you do, then are you defining it, or is it defining you? So one of the things that I did was, well, I pretty much did a lot of things. I held down many jobs, through usually through personality conflicts, or just not really getting along with the world and life. But I also had found that if you put a lot of your eggs in one basket, you have a tendency to really get lost once that's gone. A lot of retirees after 20, 30, or 40 years, they're almost defined by their success, and once they are no longer a part of that anymore, what defines them now? And in retrospect, if you go and if you have a lot of hobbies, or you have a lot of different interests, I always did it so that it would make me money. Because let's face it, sometimes even the best of jobs won't always come through. And being self-employed, I kind of know this. So I had a lot of hobby businesses. I had a lot of, for a good example, I would make leather products, and I would sell them to the local adult shops, and there you go. I had about 3 to 5 different stores I would sell wholesale to, and that would retail out my wares to the communities. It was pretty cool, actually. I liked it. And now, instead of making floggers, I make scourges for another community. So there's a duality, I guess, I have, or more than a duality, for what I do. I was asked a question a little while ago, not too long ago, on a particular show, and asked me if I like to make things just for the sake of making them. And I always talked about my hobby businesses, because what good is making something if it's not going to be productive? Good example, if you're not going to make something that's productive just for the sake of making it, it didn't sink in my head, let's put it that way. But when I had a fallback job as a security guard, I'd be at a little shack somewhere in the middle of Lehigh Acres, literally in the woods. I would bring in a lunch pail, and that's not an uncommon sight, if you're working a job site. And the guy I relieved would take off, and I'd spend my 8 or 10 hours or 12 hours in this little box, staring at the road. Things you do for money. And well, what I did to occupy my time, because literally that's all you were supposed to do, I would pull out a bag of 5 or 10,000 little jump rings, and I would make my chainmail jewelry. And pictured here. And that's just a little example. I have different designs, different braids, different whatever, and different size rings. And I would buy these bags of 5 to 10,000 rings, and I would just sit there and knit. And I kind of did it to pass the time away. I would do about 18 to 20 feet of chain in an 8-hour day. So if you did it by yourself, you'd have to evaluate what chain is worth, because it's your labor and you're not getting anything out of it. But if you're going to use your time wisely, you do it on someone else's dime, and now therefore technically you've made something that's all profit, because that time was supposed to be occupied for somebody else. So I used to knit, and I would knit my chainmail rings. And well, I'm kind of bringing that back. And another thing I used to do back when I just got out of high school, I got a job at a kiosk that sold pewter figurines, or pewter figurines and crystals. And I learned more about the crystals from the local witch and pagan community than I actually learned from my boss. And I liked it. I mean, it was pretty cool. I was young at the time. And I had a little hippie guy come up to me and say, "Hey, I really want this stone. I don't have $1." And I said, "You don't have $1?" And I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to fight this guy over $1 or chase him down for a rock in case he decides to, you know, steal from me. You know, is it really worth it? But that wasn't the case, you know. But in some parts of the world, you think that way. But in his case, he says, "I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you how to do this." And he pulls out a wrapped crystal. And he goes, if I show you how to make this, I'd like to have that. So it was a barter. And the barter was the stone for his knowledge. You know, of course, when you're an employee, you're kind of motivated to help other people make money versus you, because, you know, you're working for them. You figure job stability. And but of course, things change. Now, you know, you take the information and you try to see if you can do your own thing. And that's what I did. I went off and he showed me how to wrap the crystal, and I turned it around and I gave him that little $1 rock. So he was happy, and I had a little more knowledge. So now what I do, I wrap crystals, and I also make wands. And I make wands a little differently than the average Joe. A friend of mine years ago and I and my brother and some other friends, we went out camping, and you know, we got drunk, and my buddy would sit there and play with things. He was today he's a mechanical engineer by profession, and we're playing around with wires and stuff, just screwing around. We found, you know, a little junk pile somewhere, and decided to get creative. You know, what can you do with this? So he was braiding this 4 wires of copper in a particular pattern that you weren't really braiding it in a traditional sense. It was just more of a weave, or you're just metallurgy. You're bending the steel around, you're bending the copper around. And it came out pretty cool. In fact, it came out more like a shaft, and I went, that would be awesome for a wand. Now, he thought his creativity was pretty cool for just the fact he had 4 wires and he did something. And my thinking was more of the end product. You know, you can make something out of this. And for over 20 years, I have not made any of those, and up till now. So that's a little bit about me. I go off and I create, and I do things. So, you know, here's the world. Here's the, you know, evidence of the tangible, the creativity part of things. And not only that, but at least it's productive, because now when I create something, I know, you know, it might be something that someone wants, and there you have it. So, anyways, I figured this video would be a little bit more light-hearted than the other ones, and just to kind of show you, or to show what exactly that I do besides trying to create my church and being self-employed. My attitude basically is, if you have a talent and you kind of put it down for a while, it wouldn't hurt to actually bring it back up. Not only will it show some artistic creativity on your end, but it could also maybe line your pockets some more, or even self-sustain it. You know, some of the items I have that are leftovers, I plan on making a product or two that would actually pay for more material to make a lot more product. So, you know, if you can have something that's self-supporting like that, why not do it? Anyways, that's a little bit about me and about my creative world, and I wish you guys the best, and I'll talk to you soon. You take care. Bye for now.